Now we have a model that we think works. Let's go through each of those variables and prepare ourselves for what we need in the report to explain them. And I had to find a new stopwatch because Windows updated. But this is where we were, and let's look at the enemy model first. And there's a lot of variables here, but some of them are going to be pretty easy. So first, I'm going to grab my little piece of paper next to me and say, here's the ones that are easy. And stock isn't going to make the list because it's cubic, but media will. It's just a log, and there's a simple one-sentence explanation. I, of course, will have to do a percentage effect on it. But the ones that aren't easy are going to be stock and personnel. Stock being cubed, personnel being squared. And while it's on my mind, I think I'm going to go, where's the split between civilian and right here? So there is my enemy model, here's my civilian model. And while it's on my mind, I'm going to real quick explain the effect of media. My coefficient, it's times 10 to the 2, so that's a 634.2, it's negative. And a log of, let's say we talked about a 2% increase, and that would give me an addition, not an addition. I guess it's a drop of 12.55. So I'll need that number when I try to explain media. But now to explain stock and personnel, I'm going to have stock be a sequence. It looks like it goes from 900 to 1500. And length is just something big. And I'm purposely going to draw the picture for the enemy model a little differently than I'm going to do it for the civilian model. I hope that just illustrates different ideas of how you can do this. So for the enemy model, if I'm explaining stock, I'm only going to do the stock prediction. So here is my unexpected, oh, I forgot a comma. Here's my predicted values for stock. And here's my predicted values for the civilian deaths. And when I plot it, it looks like that. And I'm sure you can't help but notice, these are huge numbers, 122,000 deaths, way outside the range. Why is it like this? Well, because my prediction equation is ignoring all the other variables. If I included the other variables, it would drop this to a reasonable spot. But I don't necessarily care where those other reasonable variables are. So I'm going to include a y-intercept that puts this in a reasonable range. And look, there we have a nice explanation of how the stock change affects the death. And then I'm going to just add some things to try to make it look nicer. You know what, now that I look at it, type equals L will make it look a little nicer. Yeah, I like that. So there's my stock price based on enemy deaths. I think I may have called it civilian deaths a second ago, but it's too late, I'm not backing up the video. And I think this picture will help me to explain how changing the stock price affects enemy deaths. Why soldier morale, it's got to be something weird, right? Come up with your own reason. And you know what I just decided? When I'm doing personnel, I'm going to make it go from 27 to 34, but I'm not going to give it 1,000 dots to draw. I'm only going to give it as many dots as there are lines here. So whatever 34 minus 27, that's how many dots I want. That'll give me kind of a jagged line, but I'm in the mood for that. It'll give me an interesting picture. Would it really matter? No. Part of this is I'm showing you in the video some different options. Personnel level. Is this going to work the first time? Oh yeah, see how it's kind of jagged? Because you can either go from 27 to 28, but technically you can't have 27.5. If you smoothed it out, you'd get a nice picture too. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's right or wrong. I kind of like the way that looks. It's cool. So I'm going to use both of those when I explain it. Let's collapse this. Okay, that's the hard part about the enemy model, which for me was surprisingly easy. My civilian model here at the bottom is a little bit more complicated. So I'm trying to figure out which variables are easy or not, and so I looked through all of them, stock, terrorism, spies, all the way down to spies times napalm. And which ones am I going to need a graph for? Well, spies, certainly. Oh, especially since, look at that, spies is cubic and it's times napalm. Yeah, that's not going to be easy. So spies goes here. Napalm, because it's part of an interaction, is not going to be easy. Personnel looks like it's complicated. Any others? Well, bombs isn't necessarily complicated, but I'm going to want to do some math because it's logged. And same with firepower, also logged. Okay, so let's kick these guys out, firepower and bombs. So I was about to start figuring out what to do with firepower when I realized, with the video paused, these all are going to need some math because since civilian is logged, they all need math. Now, firepower and bombs are going to use different math, but I'm going to have to do a little bit of an equation for every one of these guys. Okay, so I think I've got them right. there's what I'm going to need for stock and for terrorism. There's two of them. And there's media, and can't see my list. There's temperature, and then firepower and bombs. No, these two are firepower and bombs. Slightly different equation because they were logged as well. And it's either -1 or 1 minus, depending on whether it's an increasing or decreasing effect. So when I look at all these numbers, I'm going to need to remember what they mean so that I can interpret them in my report. But once I've got the equation, I'm ready to write the sentence. The graphs that I'm going to need are for spies, napalm, and personnel. And for civilian, I'm going to do something a little bit different than what I did with the enemy deaths. I'm going to start by assigning all the variables, even the ones I don't actually need to draw this picture. So I'm going to have stock, terrorism, media, temperature, and I'm going to look... Oh! Now, I'm not sure whether that counts, because if my phone rings, I shouldn't have to keep the timer running, but at the same time I was putting in the values for where the ranges are on each of these variables while pretending to listen. So, you know, I think we'll leave the timer where it is, and now that I have all of my x variables in, I need my prediction equation. So I was part way through making my equation, and I noticed I have terrorism high up here. That should be terrorism medium. It's mistakes like that that will make you so frustrated at the end. That or trying to keep straight all this scientific notation. There's easier ways to do this, and you've seen it in other videos, but I'm doing this one slow and painful on purpose. And I hope if you're going through this code, you've noticed I'm careful to make sure I've got the minuses or the pluses right to match whether it's a positive or negative. Even if the minus has to be on the line before so the R knows it's coming, this guy is negative. And now that I'm done with this equation, you can bet I'm going to spend a couple minutes and just double check all these numbers, double check my scientific notation, because one little problem here can cause you so much grief. And I've gone through it and checked and double checked. I really think I typed everything in right the first time. Thank heavens, that's a first for me. But this is why I like using some of the other methods where I don't have to try to type all this out and work with scientific notation, but we will do it for this video. Okay, I spent so long on that, it took me like a full minute to remember what I needed to do. Let's see, I need graphs for spies, napalm, and personnel. So that's 3 different graphs. Let's grab this whole chunk of code, and I'm going to do it once for spies, once for napalm, and copy paste once for personnel. So let's go back up to the first one. This is the one where I'm going to do it for spies. So everybody else can just go to some reasonable value. Let's make you 1,000. Media, let's put you at 0.5. Temperature, I'm gonna, let's see, this is for spies. This is for spies. Okay, so temperature, what's wrong with those temperatures? Those are so extreme. 100? No, that's just bizarre. Let's hope those are in Fahrenheit. Firepower, no, we're doing spies. Don't forget what you're doing. 1. Bombs. As I remember, weren't bombs like tilted more towards the lower side? So we'll go with 100. Spies, that's the one I'm trying to do. So I'm gonna leave that sequence the way it is. Napalm between 10 and 40, how about 20? Personnel between 27 and 34, I don't know, 30 sounds like a good number. And there we go. And now at the end of this, I'm going to plot civilian hat versus spies hat. And please let this work the first time. Oh, I may have to pause the video and do a little dance. If it really works, boom! That was a little happy dance because I didn't get an error. And then I sat down to look at this, and guess what I realized? Civilian is logged! And I forgot to account for that. So, yeah, that little happy dance, I'm going to have to take it back. And I spent like 3 minutes getting that in the video. Here's how you handle the log when you're doing the prediction. Because I want to predict civilians, not log civilians, I'm going to take e to the entire prediction equation. So there's my open and close parentheses. See how it's flashing down here to tell you this is where it's closing? So open and close right there. The entire prediction is in that e, which is going to change my picture, but I'm still at least not going to get any errors. And this will also give me more reasonable civilians. It's up to 250, which is about right. I'm just curious what it would look like if I plotted my original data and then drew the line on top of it. So here's what my data, oh, really? Why? It's because I can't spell. Here's what my data originally looked like, and if I change this to be lines, I can draw on top of it. There's my prediction. Yay, that looks great. And why is it not shifted up or down appropriately? Well, it's because the value of all the other variables. Maybe if I had changed bombs to be bigger, this line would go down more on top of the others. Actually, I think I might like that. Let's color it red so it kind of stands out. And I'll need to fix these guys. But that's not a bad picture at all. Can I explain the effect of spies? Yes, as spies increase, and then I will describe this curve. And I was all happy thinking maybe I was done, except look right here. Spies is times napalm, so this one line is not going to be enough. I have got to go through and add the other lines. So it looks like napalm goes from 10 to 40. What if I did, let's see, 10, 20, 30, 40. What if I do 4 different lines at each of those values? Up here at the beginning, where did I start? Well, it looks like I started at 20. Let's give it a value of 10. And then down here, I will change it to be a value of 20. It'll start at red, and then we'll go with blue, and then I'll change it. Hang on, I don't want to restart the plot. I only want to have the plot of the data once, and then a red line, and then a blue line. And what do I need? I only need to change, in fact, I don't actually need to change spies, do I? Because spies still goes 0 to 25. It's only napalm I'm changing, and then rerunning the prediction, rerunning the code. So I have 10, I have 20, this will be 30, colored green, and then the last one will be 40 at my highest value. And what have I done? Red, blue, green. Yellow just doesn't show up very well. How about purple, orange? We'll do orange. I was so excited to think I was done. That little happy dance was really genuine. Okay, I need to start clear back up here because I want napalm right there to be 10. And so the red one is going to be 10. And then 20 for blue, 30 is green, and 40 is orange. That's a nice graph. I need a legend. Let's see if I can get the code for the legend right in one shot. Oh, nope, that's not right. Oh, look, it's because when I made the legend right here, I didn't close my parentheses the way I needed to. And no, that's still not right. Oh, it's because there's the closed parentheses I needed before. Yay! It's still showing the old legend down here, so I'm going to rerun the whole thing. Alright, that was a chunk of work, but I feel good about that. It looks nice. And now I can explain how increasing spies changes civilian deaths and how changing Napoleon. You know what? Just imagine that I said what was supposed to be said. Okay, so I just went through all the code and I changed all the stuff where I was doing spies to napalm. Let's start up here. Here at spies, I'm going to start at 0. It was a sequence before. Now napalm is going to be a sequence because this is what I'm trying to graph. Let's do the prediction. And let's look at the original napalm plot. I'm not sure if I like that at all. And my line doesn't show up. What does it mean if your line doesn't show up? It means something messed up. Okay, I'm not sure anything's messed up because the other lines came in. It was only the red that didn't come in. And it looks like as the lines increase in spies, they get clumped together. So my red line with 0 spies might have been pretty high up there. Maybe that means starting at 0 spies was too low, but I wonder if I can just go right here and I'm going to change my Y limits to go from 0 up to, let's go up to 200. And hang on, I've got to start up here where spies was 0. And this, size my graph out just a little bit. Oh, gee, really? I was hoping that would fix it. I was going to be so impressed. I might would even do another happy dance. Where's my limits here? 250. Where is that red line? Oh, man. Clear up there. Clear outside the data set. Okay, I think I see what's going on. See where it says 5, 4, 3, 2, and there's this swooping up? So 0 is clear up here off the chart, and that's what's making it look weird. So instead of starting at 0, maybe I should start at 1. And I think I can get away with this, even though they're not like equally spaced, which I was kind of liking. Oh, even 1. What do the others look like when they come in? Oh, I went too fast. See, if you press Control R too fast, you can make R mad at you. What if I just Okay, you know what? My goal is to explain this to a client. So instead of starting at 1, I'm just going to start it at 5. Let's skip the 0. Why? Because I don't think that 0 line is helpful for the client to understand what's really going on as these increase. Why is that red line down there? Doggone, this is why we pause. Okay, I think I just didn't run my code from the top, and so I had old values of spies still in there. There's 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25. And I can use this graph to explain to the client what's happening. And even though I didn't draw the line for 0, you can see how the difference between these lines is increasing. So 0 is somewhere clear up there, which I'm going to say I don't necessarily need to draw. And on the other graph, it went red, blue, green, orange. And now it's red, green, orange because I chopped out that 5 and then started at 5. You wouldn't believe how long I sat here with the video pause thinking, should I go in and change these so it's blue? And then I decided that I didn't want to do that. So there we, oh man, really? What if we put it top right? Would that look better? Yeah, I think I like that better. Okay, so as you can see, there's a lot of personal choice in what you want this to look like, as long as you have a good picture that helps you explain your complicated your complicated curvature and shape here to the client. And this picture, I feel very confident that I can explain well what is going on. And now my last piece, I need a graph for personnel. So let's give that a shot. It looks like personnel doesn't really interact with anything, which is nice. I just need one graph, and it's going to be a cubic. So I'm going to change napalm from a sequence back to some reasonable value, maybe 25, and personnel looks like it ranges in the 27 to 34 range. And I remember in the last video that I made it have only a dot for each value. This time I'm going to give it lots of dots, make it a smooth curve. That's just a style choice and how you want your picture to look at the end. Whereas before it was kind of what? Oh, it's because I capitalized it, didn't I? Why did I do that? Wait, stop. Really? So I want you to have realistic expectations. When you're trying to program this stuff, it's little things like that darn I that are going to give you... Oh, and it's not capitalized. Okay, come on. Work for me. Yay? Okay, so here's what I think is going on here. There is an effect of personnel, but that effect is small enough in practical significance that you don't really see here. Now, if you change spies and napalm, this line would shift up and down dramatically, but you won't see the curvature in personnel unless you zoom way in. And the easiest way to zoom way in is, instead of doing lines, let's plot. See, that's the picture that I want to be able to show the client. So how do I get that? It's by not including the original graph of the data, just zooming in on that curve itself. And when I write my report, I'm going to make a point to comment on how this particular curve is not practically as big a deal as you might think. It's here from 90 up to 92. So we're talking a difference of 2 civilian deaths based on the personnel. But there is still a curve here, and it is still provable. I think that is my last plot. So great, now I'm ready. In the next video, let's actually start making the report.